You are Locked On Rays, your daily Tampa Bay Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, my name is Kevin Weiss.
I'm wondering when pitchers and catchers report. I'm Ulises Sambrano.
The World Series hasn't even started yet, so got a little bit of time before that happens, Ulises. We are the host of the Locked On Rays podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. And remember, the podcast is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube at Locked On Rays. We do plan to have an abridged mailbag episode pretty darn soon. So send us your comments, questions, inquiries, opinions, lockedonrays@gmail.com. Again, lockedonrays@gmail.com to get in on that. This episode is presented by Rock Auto. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. Visit rockauto.com and tell them Locked On sent you. Ulises, I also want pitchers and catchers to report, but alas, it will be a little bit of time before that happens. In the meantime, we have player reviews.
Let's go.
And today we have Nelson Cruz for our player review. And we have a format for this. We give an overview of their statistics, what went right, what went wrong, and the particular player's future with the team. So without further ado, what did Nelson Cruz do for the Rays, Ulises?
Well, Nelson Cruz, boomstick, of course, the biggest trade deadline acquisition ever for the Rays. That is just a fact. I don't want to hear no Chad Qualls.
I thought Eric Sogard was a bigger deal.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for putting it in perspective. In 55 games, Boomstick had 217 at-bats. That's a slash line of 226, a 283 on base, 442 slugging, 725 OPS, 13 bombs in 55 games, 36 RBIs. Big picture. I think that the most positive that you can take out from him is not really the stat line itself, is what he provided the team. Number one, the deepening of that lineup, putting Nelson Cruz in that third or fourth spot in the lineup. Now you're making Wander Franco better. You're making Randy Arozarena better. You're making Meadows, Brendan Lau, Yandy Diaz, all the much better because they're now in a better situation to succeed because that pitcher now has to have another different attack plan for that lineup. So that's the first way that Nelson Cruz can kind of help a team. And you saw how that helped with the Rays in run creation after he was acquired. The second side that I can see the major positive is his influence on a guy like Wander Franco, on a guy like Randy Arozarena, and the Rays knew exactly what they were doing, Kevin, because where did they put him in the clubhouse? Right in the middle of those two lockers.
Yeah, that was huge. And also not just the connection with the Spanish language young guys, but also the guys that are or going to be designated hitters primarily. How do you go about your business? Austin Meadows getting some tips from him. So, of course, Nelson's ability or just his presence of thickening out the lineup. We don't have intern McGee with us, but if we did, we could maybe do a analysis of every offensive player's numbers, how they improved or didn't improve since Nelson Cruz arrived, if I had to guess. I mean, it seemed like the Rays offense, even though his numbers may not totally speak to it, did this team not score the most runs in franchise history?
Maybe somebody has it in front of them. I don't have it in front of me, but I do believe that they actually had less than 5 runs per game before Nelson Cruz got to the team. And then after, it was past 5.
Yeah.
So you could see the deepening of the lineup effect of what we're talking about.
And also, You mentioned his presence, but just the fact of him coming to the team, I think reinvigorated the team and reinvigorated the fan base. It was a show from the front office of saying, we believe in this team and we're going to but we're going to make a legit push for the playoffs. And this is our biggest need, middle of the order, right-handed bopper. This is what we're going to get out. And this is what we're going to get. And that's what they did. I think it brought a lot of excitement. I mean, you have a Here Comes the Boom shirt, right? I saw, and you would see a lot of those around Tropicana Field. So, and I know that the numbers aren't, and we'll get into this, sort of what went wrong with Nelly, but he's there to hit homers. He hit 13 home runs in 55 games.
Right.
That's a pretty good number right there. And there's two big moments that stood out to me from what Cruz was able to do with the Rays. One, his debut game with the Rays, where he hit a home run in the third inning off Zach Plesac. It was this is why this guy has 400 some homers and has basically been the most imposing or most prolific power hitter since 2014, where he can hit a oppo line drive ball 111 miles per hour and still get it over the fence. That was the first one that really sticks out in my mind. The other one is, and I know, again, we'll get into this, his struggles in the playoffs, but he did have a big moment in the playoffs. I think it was game one, if I recall, the home run off the C-ring catwalk, which does not happen very often in the postseason. So there were a couple of highlight moments from Nelson Cruz in his short stay with the Rays.
No, certainly. And I think those are probably the top two. If you have to, maybe make it down to two or maybe three.
Yeah.
You could add another one, but that 5 RBI game he had as well. But no, that I love that positive too, Kevin, because this was a team that was, losing so many pieces arms wise, especially after Tyler Glasnow. So it did need that shot of adrenaline, and that's exactly what this trade did. Now, I love it because it also showed that the front office not only believed in this team, but wanted to kind of reward a fan base thirsting for a middle of the order bat like Nelson Cruz. Regardless of what Ryan and Strotman do in their careers, I just don't see this as a loss. You had to have this component in this season. Did it work out ultimately like you wanted to? Maybe not completely. And that's okay. Sometimes, you are going to lose trades, but the intent was there. That was what you needed to do.
It helped remove a little bit of the stink off of not bringing Charlie Morton back and trading Blake Snell.
Yes.
And it wasn't just giving up Strotman and Ryan, but the Rays actually took on salary. They took on $5 million for those 2+
refreshing.
Yes,
it's so refreshing,
it was.
Because that's never the case.
Never.
I mean, Eric Solgaard, it's the case. Yeah. I have to agree with you. That positive, I think, it was just more for the fans too.
And last thing on, I'm sure we'll, in the conclusion of this, kind of wax poetic a little bit about Nelson Cruz, but even at, what's he now, 42 years old?
Yeah.
I know he's above 40. That's been a storyline for a little bit now, but still remains one of the strongest hitters in the game. As far, he is not losing strength, folks. His average exit velocity, 93rd percentile, max exit velocity, 99th percentile, hard hit percentage, 94th percentile, barrel percentage, 85th percentile. Now, I'm not going to mention the whiff percentage and the chase rate and the sprint speed and some of those metrics, but again, he still is very, very strong at his advancing age.
You know what? I am actually surprised. The speed, though. The speed actually ticked up since coming from Minnesota to Tampa. It rejuvenated him. And I think that was really cool to see. And I do have the numbers here. In 55 games, he grounded into double. Actually, no. Trivia question.
Okay.
Trivia question for the listeners who have been listening to these player reviews. Do you remember, Kevin and listeners, how many grounded into double plays Randy Arozarena had?
I think it was 6 or 8.
It was 9.
9. Okay.
Do you know how many Nelson Cruz had?
I would say probably fewer than Randy because he only played in 55 games. Well, are you talking about Nelson
With the Rays.
with the Rays? Okay, I'll say 5 ground into double plays.
4.
4. Okay.
4. So that's what I'm talking about when it kind of sparked me the wrong way that Randy had 9. Because if Nelson kind of had 4, I can see that, even if it rejuvenated him, but it seems kind of odd that Randy Arozarena has been getting 9. But we talked about the hard hit percentage, which, by the way, hard hit percentage, you're right. Nelson Cruz is still hitting it hard. 51% of his balls are hard hit balls. So there's still something in that tank for Nelson Cruz.
Speaking of tank, wow, talk about a transition. Rock Auto. Maybe need a tank upgrade or 2. I don't know if you can get tank upgrades, but you can get a lot of upgrades at Rock Auto.
Well, yeah, you can get, and the best upgrade is going to a place where you save time and money. That's what happens when you use Rock Auto. Why choose to spend 30, 50, 70, 85, 93%, 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership? That doesn't make sense, folks. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could ever need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet. So go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto part needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Make sure to write "Locked On" in their "How did you hear about us" box so they know that Kevin Weiss and myself sent you there. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
Okay, turning to some of the downside of Nelson Cruz's time with the Rays. Ulises, what stood out on a negative angle with him?
I think he took I'm the big bopper, I am here for home runs a little bit too seriously. And I can see it in 2 different metrics here. His ground ball rate actually decreased by 3 points since coming over from the Twins to 41%, which, okay, he's hitting less ground balls. Okay. But the problem was that his launch angle just went completely up, almost to 4 points up at 14%. So it was like he was just changing his approach. And that's why you were talking about that chase rate. That's why you're talking about that whiff rate. It's too because his methodology, his approach to taking at bats kind of changed from what made him successful, because he was just put into this, and I don't want to say the S word, but I'm going to say it anyway, savior mode. Hey, save this offense. Hey, be the guy. Can you be the guy? Can you please be the home run guy? Please, pretty please. You're the only one who has an actual cool home run trot. Right. Because you've been there so many times. You actually know how to trot after a home run. Can you please be that guy? I think that actually did get to him. That got to him mentally, and his approach changed. And because his approach changed to a guy who has been there, done that for forever, it changed him negatively.
And we also have to acknowledge 55 games is still a pretty small sample size.
Sure.
It's still a small sample size. And there were a couple little things that may have prevented him from living up to his potential like we've seen in the past. He was hit by that pitch on the forearm. He missed a couple games or a couple days, or wasn't at full health, dealing with flu-like symptoms. Tropicana Field very well could be like a Willy Adames effect for him. In fact, I have the numbers of Nelly Cruz.
They're ugly.
At Tropicana Field. 211 with a 603 OPS in 101 or 90 at bats, 101 plate appearances in 25 games.
Of those 13 home runs, only 3 came out of the Trop.
So,
no bueno.
But to your point about changing the approach and being in savior mode, and I'm here to hit bombs. That's what I'm here to do. 4th in the order, 5th in the order, 3rd in the order. you could see that a little bit, particularly when he gets behind in the count. And we can just deduce that guys are more successful when they're ahead in the count compared to behind in the count.
Right.
But Nelson Cruz, what he's done in his career, he's not at a point where with 2 strikes, I'm going to choke up, try to put something in play to the other side and try to leg one out. That's not his game.
No.
His game is, even with 2 strikes, I'm still going to swing hard. I'm still going to have that uppercut motion. And that's what we saw. And that was particularly in the playoffs where he struggled. And it would have been nice to have his typically really good playoff self against the Red Sox. He was exploited up and in quite a bit. He was exploited with fastballs, top of the zone, where he just swings under and misses completely, or hits a weak grounder or a pop-up, or just doesn't do much, or gets called looking on a pitch inside. So you could kind of see that, again, he's not going to choke up on it and say, hey, let me just push one out there. He's there to hit the ball hard, and he's not going to deviate from that approach.
He has a very upright stance.
Yes.
So when he ends up looking very foolish, like chasing out and away, which he basically
off-speed
did
breaking balls,
all the time during the playoffs, it's very noticeable. So the quality of the ABs was not the same during the playoffs. But if you just go into the regular season and take out the playoffs from the conversation for a little bit, the drop-off in production was so big from the Twins to the Rays. Over 175 points less in OPS coming from Minnesota. 175 points in OPS. So he was basically a 725 OPS guy with the Rays when he had been like an over 900 guy with the Twins. So that's pretty telling. And you're looking at that lineup, and the positives definitely were there. All of the lineup got better because he was around, but he got worse. He got worse from what he had been producing in Minnesota to what he did with the Rays. And again, it all starts here mentally. You know, if you're just coming with that savior label, if you're coming in here with like, please hit bombs, you change your approach. Your at bats are not the same. You start putting pressure on yourself. You get hit by pitches. You get sick. All of these things happen. And then you see how you can drop 180 points in OPS.
Yeah, and again, it's not – he had been playing in the Central for how many years in a row now? You're moving to a new league, a new division, a new ballpark, trying to get on the same page with new teammates, trying to learn hey, where do I park? How do I – where am I going to live? Where am I going to eat? Just all the little things add up over time, and that's not easy for anybody. And even a guy that's been playing professional baseball since 2000, 2001 – it's not either. But I guess the last thing on the negatives, the postseason line here, 176 average, 575 OPS. Again, not very many at-bats, but just didn't take advantage. 17 at-bats. And this is, let's remember, Nelson Cruz is one of the most successful postseason players of our generation.
Right.
18 career postseason home runs, 979 career OPS in 187 postseason at-bats. He's tied in postseason homers with Reggie Jackson, Carlos Correa, and Mickey Mantle. And he didn't go quite as quiet as Brandon Lau, but he's
on the podium.
Pretty quiet. Yeah.
No, put the quiet lineup in the podium. Does he take silver or bronze? Because he's taking one of them.
Yeah,
he's taking. We all know who gets the gold there.
Not in a good way either.
Not in a good way.
Gold piece of poop, maybe.
I didn't want to go there. No, look, he definitely was not himself in the playoffs. No. He definitely was not himself during the regular season. His K rate, look at this, increased almost by 9 points, and then his walk rate plummeted to almost a career low. So it's one of those things where, yes, you're happy about that trade. I would not change them making that trade for the fandom and for that clubhouse. But damn it, did it have to be worst case scenario for his production in the regular season for himself, for his own personal stat line? We've talked about how he improved players around him. and then in the postseason taking the podium there on the negative side. I just, it's so unfortunate because it was there to be such a magical trade, man.
Do you buy into the theory or hypothesis that he ran out of steam at some point at 42 years old? In how many days you're going to run out of steam? You had the 60-game season last year. It's going from 60 to 162, and then you have the playoffs on top of that, and then you're being traded to a team mid-season. Did he run out of juice a little bit at the end?
Did he run out of boom?
Yeah,
on that stick. Thank you very much. I don't. If I were the Rays front office and I had that checkbook in front of me, do I want to sign Nelson Cruz for the appropriate amount of money? I still would. It would not be for more than a year. So does that answer your question? Like, there's still something there,
yes,
for the right price, but not too much and not for long.
We will continue that, his possible future with the team. But first, we've got to tell you about BetOnline. BetOnline is back and better than ever. A new web interface for the start of the basketball season, and more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. Be sure to head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website to sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use their promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. That's LOCKEDON to receive that bonus. BetOnline, it is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports, and it's where the game starts as well. Okay, Ulises, we know that Nelson Cruz is a free agent, going to be a free agent in 2022. Question is he going to be on the Rays in 2022, or is he going to be on one of the other 29 teams?
That's a good question. Like I said just before, I wouldn't be surprised if they bring him back. Again, the positives are there and you can see them. He does deepen that lineup. That is just a fact. You can see it in the run creation between the pre-trade, post-trade numbers. That's there. The outside the line tutelage that he can give young players. And I know that the focus is on Randy Arozarena and Franco because of the history. But I love, Kevin, that you said that's not it. Because I feel like that sometimes it's an easy way to label guys. Okay, the Hispanic guys are going with the Hispanic. No, you don't think Austin Meadows is going to be a better player by talking to Nelson Cruz about how to deal being a DH? Or
Zanino, a power hitter.
There you go. So thank you for mentioning that, because it's not only Randy and Wander. They get highlighted, but it's the Austin Meadows. Yeah. It's the Brennan Laus hitting 39 home runs and then asking, how do you deal with them knowing that you're a power hitter? How would they approach you? How do you get through that? How are you successful in the postseason, Nelson, even though you might not be successful in 2021, the postseason? But how have you gotten to that point? Those all things are positive, and you want to bring back a guy that does that. However, the Rays do have a very problematic future ahead of them, which is too many good players, too few spots. The 40-man crunch, we've talked about it. How the CBA is going to line up with that, who knows? Rule 5 draft is pending, so you're going to lose some guys. Are you going to trade them off? Do you want to sign a 42-year-old that can only play DH or first base, apparently, for the Rays, for $7-8 million for a Sutsugo type of salary, for an almost KK salary? I mean, that it would be surprising to me to see that.
So what percentage chance are you putting that he resigns with the Rays? 0 to 100.
Okay, before I answer that question, I want you to tell me how much do you expect Nelson Cruz to sign for 1 year? If let's take off the 2 years. Let's say every team in baseball is only going to sign him for 1 year. What's the going price for a Nelson Cruz in 2022?
Well, a couple things. I think some of that is contingent on if the universal DH is going to be part of the equation with the new CBA, because that brings on a lot more suitors. But I think at the very least, I think Cruz 1 year deal, at least double-digit millions, at least 10 million.
Really?
Oh yeah. Somewhere it's 1 year deal.
Yeah, he signed a 1 year, 13 mil.
In fact,
2021.
In fact, I think, again, I have multiple angles on this. For one, I think that the Rays wouldn't have given up Ryan Strotman the $5 million just expecting a 2-month rental. I feel like they know or have some insight in the back of their minds that maybe Nelson would take a little bit of a discount to stay in the Tampa Bay area, to play on a fun, energetic team that is going somewhere.
Right.
That is going, I mean, we would think back to the playoffs, just coming off 100 wins, instead of just taking that money grab, unless there's a team that will step up with a multi-year deal. But would you rather play with the Rays for 10 million or go to Seattle for 14 million? Because that's actually, if not, I don't know if he signs with the Rays. I don't know what's going to happen, but if there's a landing spot that I could see him, if I were to put odds on it, I would say he'd go back to Seattle.
Yeah.
Because you talk about a team that, how many games did they win? They won at least 90?
89 maybe?
They were right in the wild card chase. They outperformed expectations. But one thing that they were missing,
big bat.
Like
Ty France.
Yeah. Their DH was Luis Torrens. Okay. So, and he's familiar with that city. He did a lot of damage with that city. He has a great relationship with Scott Service. It was actually Scott Service who taught him or advised him to go with that open stance so he could see spin on the ball better with using 2 eyes instead of 1 eye. So I think there's a connection there for sure of going back to Seattle. And you talk about all the young players that they have in that organization: Julio Rodriguez, Jared Kelenic, Trammell, Kyle Lewis. That's a mentorship opportunity right there as well. So I think that could be a landing spot. But
I like your first take, though.
Yeah, to your point, I think if it's 1 year, double digit millions.
Let's make it 10 mil.
Yeah, 10 mil.
That's tough for me.
Okay.
If I were the Rays, that's tough for me to put 10 mil on. But I do like what you said, though. Do you give up Ryan and Strotman and $5 million just for a 2-month plus playoff rental? If you're the Rays, that doesn't sound very Raysian.
Yeah.
Right. So they have some information that lets them know he's going to sign with us in 2022, though. Don't you worry about it. We know exactly what he's going to like the clubhouse. He's going to like what we do. He's going to want to win. He's going to want to, we talked about when I remember very recently, we talked about winning when you're young and winning when you're old. It's important to win when you're old, man. Mm-hmm. You got to get that ring, right? You spend your whole life, you want that ring. Nelson is chasing that ring. He wants that ring. He's been in the World Series before, never actually captured it. So I feel like I like your theory. But again, 10 mil, that sounds kind of very far-fetched. But you tell me 14 mil for a 2-year contract, I think the Rays do that. But then again, the long term of having a 42-year-old that has way too many question marks for my liking.
Look, I think they'd almost rather do a 1 year 10 mil than a 2 year 14 mil.
Yeah, I would too.
And maybe they get creative with some incentives and bonuses. You get so many home runs, you get so many RBIs, you get so many at bats, you play in so many games. And again,
they did it with Morton. They did it with Zunino.
Yes.
If you're in this much of the IL, you're here. IL here.
Look, we've talked about how little money that they've got on the books theoretically for this coming year. And this is a team that gave Chris Archer $6.5 million after not playing in 2020 and being crap in 2019. It's not like Nelson Cruz batted 155 games with the Rays. It was, I mean, yes.
Didn't exceed expectations.
No.
Didn't meet them. Maybe.
No, he didn't meet expectations nor exceed them. In fact, his numbers on the whole, you combine what he did with Minnesota and with Tampa Bay, it actually turned out, because of his struggles at times with Tampa Bay, his lowest OPS since 2013.
Look at that.
So maybe, again, that might be a little bit bargaining chip right there as well. So it's going to be interesting. This is going to be one of the more fun conversations and developments going forward. And again, I think a lot of it is contingent or will weigh on the CBA, because that could be, you could really open up the market if that's what he really wants to do. But here's the thing, I think with Nelson Cruz, how much, I don't have his BREF page or Fangraphs page in front of me, but he's made how many millions of dollars so far? It's not like he's playing for that. Right. I've got one opportunity to cash in. He's cashed in multiple times now.
He's got the money. Yeah. Again, like we said, he wants that ring. That's why the older players focus on the ring, the winning attitude. Where can I get that ring? Before we finish, of course, I do want to give a shout out to a couple of listeners that gave us reactions on the Tom Brady "What would you ask for?" Thank you for sending those in. If you want to tell me and Kevin, if you want to tell us what you would trade for a TB12 600 yard, whatever it's called, passing yards, whatever,
passing touchdown.
There you go, tutties. What you would get, sure, let us know. Or a 400th home run from Longo, let us know. But I want to finish with this. Okay. You're not going to get away from this.
Grade.
Get your red Sharpie. What is your grade for Nelson Cruz as a Ray in 2021? Make sure to include your postseason stats, folks, because we do postseason stats here too. We are not just going to dilly-daddle here, all right? We go hard.
B-.
I'm going to push for a number.
What is the highest B- possible? 82?
80. Oh, B-, 80. That. Oh, the highest. Sorry. 82, yes.
82. I'll give him an 82.
Man, you feel better than I do about Nelly.
Yeah, I don't think... Look, I think because you were so hyped after that trade.
I was.
And what you've seen from Nelly since going back to his days with Texas.
08, 09, like it's been a while.
Yeah. But I also think about, again, I'm not just looking at the numbers, I'm taking everything into account, which we did. Yeah. And how much thicker the lineup got and how much the team kept winning until they got to the playoffs. But he certainly helped them in one way or another to get to 100 dubs. And I also just take into account the excitement factor too. Yeah, it was a great time after. We were on cloud 9 to happen. So that also brings a little bit of cachet to me too.
Okay. No, I have him lower. I have him lower by 5 points. I have him at 77. So I have him a C+. I think the job that he did was passable, very good passable. Wouldn't be opposed to seeing him wear that Rays uniform next year for the right price, for the right length of time. But, man, the postseason, I'm sorry. You just got to come through when you got to come through.
Can I end this thing on a very brief Nelson Cruz trivia question?
Sure. Hit me. You know I like trivia.
Yeah. Since the start of the 2014 season, Nelson Cruz's 292 home runs since the start of the 2014 season, that leads the majors. That is most in the majors. He is ahead of who? With 259. Which just goes to show you how, he has been the best power hitter.
Mike Trout?
I will say this guy's in the National League. I'll give you one more guess.
Oh, okay.
And no, I'll give you 3 strikes. I'll give you 3 strikes. I'll do it fair.
Okay.
Mike Trout is incorrect, of course. And this guy is in the National League.
National League. Nolan Arenado.
Wow. If you missed it, I was going to say, hey, think about the ballpark. But Nolan Arenado is correct.
Let's
259. I totally forgot about Nolan Arenado when he went to St. Louis.
I know.
what's happening with even that team that wins 18, 19 in a row, however many they did. I still don't even like, they're in a different world to me. I just think, hey, they're boring. I can't watch NL Central baseball. That's just me right now.
That's fair.
There we go. Very good, man. Killing it on trivia on a Tuesday. How about that?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you again for making the Locked On Rays podcast your first listen every day. Now make your second listen Locked On MLB Prospects with host Aram Layton. It's free and available on all platforms like this podcast.